So the votes are being counted as politicians in Somalia elect a new president. The election is now into a second round, but there are serious questions about the whole process, with allegations that huge sums of money have changed hands in return for some of those votes. A senior diplomatic source says at least one candidate has been paying politicians for their support. Peter Greste is in the Somali capital Mogadishu, where the results of the first rounds of voting have just come in. And Peter, none of the candidates have apparently gotten the two-thirds majority required to win outright. So who's gotten into the second round then?
That's right. We understand that the first round has revealed 4 people who will go through to the second round. The main candidate, Sheikh Ahmed, who is the incumbent, got 64 votes. A bit of a dark horse, an opposition candidate called Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud got 60 votes, which is a real surprise. I think a lot of people expected that Sheikh Sharif would in fact get a good deal more votes, and as a dark horse, Hassan Sheikh would perhaps come a good deal further down the pack. Abdi Wali Ali Mohammed, the other great rival for the presidency and the incumbent prime minister, came away with about 30 votes. Now, it's going to be very difficult to see how he can make it through, but he is in the second round. And fourth candidate, Somalia, came in with 29. Now, how this plays out over the next few hours is really fascinating. As you mentioned, there have been these allegations of vote buying. We've been speaking to a number of politicians who've repeatedly insisted to us that they've heard rumours of vote buying, they've seen other people who've taken money or who've said they've taken money, and generally it's understood that everybody has been involved either in directly buying votes or arm twisting. So the whole integrity of this process has really come under question. But the one thing that everyone keeps reminding us about is the fact that we're having this vote at all is a major step forward, particularly given Somalia's recent violent history.
A major milestone, many will say, Peter, but when you speak to people, ordinary people out on the streets, people who haven't had a chance to vote, amid these allegations of vote buying, of ongoing corruption, how troubling is it for them? How concerned are they that this could actually undermine whatever hopes they have for the next government to be effective?
Well, I think what I've just mentioned really is reflected out in the streets. The fact that there is a lot of scepticism about the integrity of the parliament, about whether or not it will be a corruption-free parliament. Most people acknowledge that corruption is almost inevitably going to be a part of the process. But they also keep reminding us that however flawed it is, the fact that we have, as one analyst told me, the fact that Somalia has a bad government is a huge step forward than no government at all, which is really what this country has been through for the past 20 years. Every other administration that we've had, and remember there have been 15 others that have come and gone over the past 20 years, and every one of those has really not had any kind of legitimacy, certainly not the legitimacy that this administration can claim, and that's because it has been underpinned by a council of elders, traditional elders, who by tradition really represent the opinions of their clans, and because they've been involved, because this whole process has been anchored not just in Somalia but here in Mogadishu, there really is a sense that this is the first government that is owned by Somalis ever since the last one fell back in 1991.
Peter, thanks very much. We're going to go straight now to Nazanine Moshiri to try to gauge the mood of Somalis elsewhere in Mogadishu about this latest election and the potential outcome. Nazanine, just how hopeful are people then, despite these allegations of vote buying?
Well, I'm in a central Mogadishu restaurant where people are watching closely the proceedings at the National Police Academy where Peter is and watching the voting process. The fact that we are here and there are people sitting around drinking coffee late into the night shows you how much progress the city has made. This wouldn't have been possible a year ago, but there are some concerns by people about the whole process and whether it is legitimate. Joining me now is Abdi Hosso, who is a businessman here in Somalia. He's also an academic. Now, Abdi, I understand you came back to the country recently. You came back because security's improved. What are your feelings now watching the proceedings of the vote and going to the second round? Who do you think is going to win?
Well, Nazanine is too close to call. There are heavyweights really taking part in this election. Is really too close to call. We have seen people that we thought would be the first, who are really lacking behind now. We're seeing people we didn't think would, be in the front line now who are in the front line. So it's really too close to call, and it's just the first round, so it's yet to be seen.
As somebody who's working closely in the business world here in Mogadishu and trying to invest in his country, what kind of president would you like to see running the country?
Well, we would like to see a president who knows how to run the country now, who understands the political dynamics of this country, who can really do something outside the country too, the foreign relations, who can work with the neighboring countries, and who knows how to deal with all the problems of this country.
And there are so many problems, from security, the issues with Al-Shabaab still exist, and other armed militia groups, also food security. There are so many IDPs, hundreds of thousands still living in the city.
Yes, one of the first major problems that's needed to be dealt with is the IDPs, really. There are people who are not really taking that seriously. We want a president who really can deal with that problem first and foremost. As you said, there's the problem of Al-Shabaab and other groups who might as well come out. Once Al-Shabaab is defeated, there might be other groups who might, fill that vacuum. We want a president who knows about that and who's ready to deal with that too.
Abdi, I have to ask you about these bribing allegations, just very briefly. What are your thoughts on this? If it is true that some MPs have taken bribes, does that change the way you feel about this result?
Well, we do not know. There's no evidence so far which has been brought forward about that. And it's just allegations. If that is the case, if bribes have been paid, that's going to be a problem.
Okay, thank you so much. This is Mogadishu, and there are a lot of power cuts still in the city and issues here, but a lot of progress has been made in this country. Back to you.
Nazanine, thank you very much. That was Nazanine Moshiri reporting from Mogadishu.